Good morning, dear students. I, Amrita Henry, your history teacher, delightfully want to share my knowledge on one of the history chapters prescribed by council. But before I start with the chapter, I want you all to recall that at this present moment, as we are facing a lot of hard time or problems in our life, that we should remember that every cloud has a silver lining. Therefore, at this moment, we should be patient and watchful to utilize our time during this pandemic. So, with the positive spirit, I am starting with chapter 1 from a book which is The First War of Independence. The First War of Independence is also known as Indian Rebellion of 1857. We can also call it as Sepoy's Mutiny as well as the Revolt of 1857. For it is said that it was started on 10th of May in the year 1857. Some people call it as the Sepoy's Mutiny, which has taken place in Meerut. But actually, a culmination means the origin of resentment or anger of the people against the Britishers were forming from many years and for the various reasons. Now, these reasons broadly can be classified into various parts such as political cause, social religious cause, economic cause, military cause, and immediate cause. Now, one by one, we'll be taking this causes. First, we'll be taking political cause, which can again be subdivided into various points. That is the policy of expansion, treatment given to Nana Sahib, disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah Zafar, and absentee sovereignty of the British. Now, the first one we'll be taking, that is the policy of expansion. Before we start with this, we should know what actually is the policy of expansion. So, during that time when were trying to expand their territories in India, they have adopted the various policies through which they were expanding or they were annexing the territories in India. Those ways or those paths were outright war, subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, and pretext of misrule. Now, outright war. The first way or the policy which was adopted by the British was outright war, in which they used to fight battles directly to their opponents. Simply, they used to do the battle among each other. One on the winning side and the other was on the losing side, was lost the war. Okay, so some of the examples of outright wars are War of Buxar, Anglo-Mysore War, Second Anglo-Sikh War, etc. Now, the subsidiary alliance. Alliance basically means agreement. So, here the agreement was made between princely states and the British India. So, uh, when a territory wanted to join the British territory, when an Indian territory wanted to join the British territory, they used to do an alliance on an agreement between themselves that was known as the subsidiary alliance. And as per this alliance, Indian princely states used to lose their sovereignty. They were not free to do anything by themselves. They were bound with certain rules and regulations set by the Britishers, in which they actually lost their independence and were forced to do whatever Britishers used to tell them. These states were not allowed to enter into any alliance or any war without the permission of the company. And not only this, they were even asked to keep a British resident at their headquarters who used to inform the Britishers about their whereabouts, whatever they were doing. Basically, this subsidiary alliance, the idea of subsidiary alliance, was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Now comes the doctrine of lapse. Let me tell you, children, doctrine of lapse is a very important point which you should study very nicely and in detail. What is doctrine of lapse? Before we discuss that, let me tell you that this particular point is frequently asked in board examination. Why I'm telling you it is important? Because this question is frequently asked in boards and various questions are formed from this particular point, like what is doctrine of lapse, who introduced doctrine of lapse, or name some victim states of doctrine of lapse. So we'll start with what is actually doctrine of lapse. According to the doctrine of lapse, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, heir means successor to his kingdom, would lapse. So if a person who is not having their hereditary son, so the territory will belong to the British kingdom. Now the successor or the adopted son will not get the territories. They can only possess the private property, but they cannot possess the territory which is being given to the king. And this particular policy was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. Now the states which were annexed by doctrine of lapse, they were the state of Satara, Jaipur, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, and Jhansi. The important point which has to be marked over here, that is, if you remember the story of Rani Lakshmi Bai, so that comes from here only, because Rani Lakshmi Bai was the victim of doctrine of lapse, because she had an adopted child, due to which the Anand Rao, as he could not have its own heir, who was husband of Rani Lakshmi Bai, so they could not have their own son or daughter, so therefore their territory went into the hands of the Britishers. So therefore they became the victim of doctrine of lapse, and this became one of the reason of the grievances, that means the reason of the anger of the people, which made people against of the Britishers. Now, the next point, that is the pretext of misrule. Pretext of misrule means allied misrule. Means that according to this, the Lord Dalhousie told that people are not able to rule their territory properly, and therefore their territory should merge with the British territories. An example for this elite misrule, we have the Awadh, because Awadh was actually annexed by Lord Dalhousie, and the statement which was given by Lord Dalhousie, that was that